iPhone 17 Air. All the rumors about Apple's super-thin iPhone 17. The 2025 iPhone 17 Air. In the 2025 iPhone lineup, Apple will introduce an ultra-thin iPhone 17 Air, marking the first notable redesign to the iPhone's form factor in several years. iPhone 17 Air is just a placeholder name, and we don't know what Apple will call it, but multiple rumors have confirmed Apple's work on a super-thin iPhone. The iPhone 17 Air is expected to be right around 5.5 millimeters thick, which will make it the thinnest iPhone released to date. That measurement doesn't include the camera bump, which could be thicker to accommodate the single 48-megapixel rear camera rumored for the device. Apple will sell the iPhone 17 Air alongside the standard iPhone 17, the iPhone 17 Pro, and the iPhone 17 Pro Max. We are not expecting an iPhone 17 Plus this year, with the iPhone 17 Air effectively replacing it in the lineup. Early rumors suggested the iPhone 17 Air could be as expensive or more expensive than the iPhone 17 Pro, but more recent information suggests it will cost more than the iPhone 17 but won't be as expensive as the iPhone 17 Pro and iPhone 17 Pro Max. That suggests we could see a price point around $899. In terms of size, rumors suggest the iPhone 17 Air will have a 6.6-inch display, which will put it in between the iPhone 17 and the iPhone 17 Pro Max in size. As mentioned, it will have a single-lens rear camera, and Apple could be planning for a horizontal bar-like camera bump at the back, a design feature that's also rumored for the Pro iPhones. The iPhone 17 Air is expected to feature a 120Hz ProMotion display, and it will be equipped with Apple's C1 5G modem. Other features will include an A19 chip, Wi-Fi 7, and a more advanced display material that can better hold up to drops and scratches. There will be some small design changes to accommodate the device's thin chassis, such as a USB-C port that's not entirely centered and fewer speaker holes. Apple plans to market the iPhone 17 Air with a focus on design rather than internal specs. It won't have the top-of-the-line components or the fastest chip like the iPhone 17 Pro models, but the fresh design may be appealing to customers. Design. With the 2024 iPad Pro launch, Apple slimmed down the chassis, and the 12.9-inch model is just 5.1 millimeters thick. It's Apple's thinnest device ever, and now Apple is aiming to follow it up with a super thin and light iPhone. We've heard several rumors about the iPhone 17 Air, and thickness estimates have ranged from 5 millimeters to a little over 6 millimeters. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman, for example, thinks that the iPhone 17 Air will be around 2 millimeters thinner than the iPhone 16 Pro. The iPhone 16 Pro is 8.25 millimeters thick, so an iPhone 17 that's 2 millimeters thinner would come in at around 6.25 millimeters. 6.25 millimeters would make the iPhone 17 Air the thinnest iPhone to date, but some rumors think it will be even thinner. The information believes the iPhone 17 Air will be around 6 millimeters thick, while Jeff Pu thinks it will be 6 millimeters thick. Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo believes the iPhone 17 Air will be 5.5 millimeters thick at its thinnest point, which likely means it will have a 5.5 millimeters chassis with a thicker rear camera bump area. Dummy models that have surfaced are approximately 5.5 millimeters thick. The thinnest iPhone to date was the iPhone 6 at 6.9 millimeters. iPhones got thicker with the iPhone 10 and beyond, as Apple changed device thickness to provide more space for the battery, camera lenses, Face ID hardware, and more. The iPhone 17 Air is said to measure in at 9.5 millimeters thick at the camera bump end, which means we can expect the camera bump to be notably thicker than the rest of the device. Apple might use a titanium aluminum frame for the iPhone 17 Air, with the device using more titanium than the current Pro iPhones. Rumors suggest that the iPhone 17 Air will weigh in at 145 grams. That would make it similar in weight to the iPhone SE 2 or the iPhone 13 mini, which are 148 grams and 141 grams, respectively. A conceptual rendering of the iPhone 17 Air provides some insight into what the device might look like. It features a slim 5.5 millimeters profile and a thicker rear camera bar with single-lens camera. Apple is said to be planning to use a horizontal bar-like camera for the iPhone 17 Air, with the iPhone 17 Pro expected to adopt a similar design. The iPhone 17 Air will have a 6.6-inch display,
Hey,
6.7-inch
on the
display,
beat, ho,
and rumors
beat.
suggest the rear camera could be relocated from the upper left side of the iPhone to the center of the device, though that's not certain. It could also be in the upper left with Apple using a larger camera bump design. Apple decided on a 6.6-inch size for the iPhone 17 Air because it was worried anything larger might be susceptible to bending. Apple initially planned on a 6.9-inch screen size for the device, but it was sized down to prevent any problems with bending. Based on CAD renders and dummy models, the iPhone 17 Air has a single-lens rear camera with an elongated bump that looks like a rear camera bar. It's a design that will match a new camera bar that Apple is adding for the iPhone 17 Pro models. There is said to be a glass section around the logo that's integrated into an overall metal chassis, which has previously been described as a half-aluminum, half-glass build. Additional iPhone 17 Air mock-ups have shown the same rear camera design for the iPhone 17 Pro. The iPhone 17 Air will have some subtle design changes so that all of the internal components can fit despite the thinness of the chassis. Dummy models suggest that the USB-C port on the bottom edge won't be centered front to back, and will instead be shifted closer to the rear of the device. The speaker grills have also been simplified, with just 2 holes on either side of the port rather than the typical 5. A screen protector designed for the iPhone 17 Air, based on leaked design dimensions, suggests that the front camera of the device might be located on the left of the dynamic island, rather than on the right like the iPhone 16 models. The iPhone 17 Air will include MagSafe charging, a camera control button, and an action button, based on dummy models of the device that have been circulating. A closer look at the thin design of the iPhone 17 Air can be seen in a video that shows off an iPhone 17 Air dummy model. Dummy models are often an accurate representation of what we can expect, as they are created for case makers based on leaked information from Apple suppliers. Case makers aim to be the first with a case that fits a new iPhone, so there is a lot of money in accurate design leaks. The video shows the iPhone 17 Air next to the other iPhone 17 dummy models, and it is a useful comparison for visualizing a 5.5 mm chassis next to an 8.75 mm chassis. Display. The iPhone 17 Air is rumored to have a 6.6-inch display, which means it will be larger than the iPhone 17, but smaller than the iPhone 17 Pro Max. There have been mixed rumors about the size of the dynamic island. Analyst Jeff Pu claims that Apple is using MetaLens technology for Face ID that will allow for a narrower dynamic island. But Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo does not expect notable changes to the dynamic island, and he believes it will be the same size. The iPhone 17 Air is expected to use the same OLED panel as the current iPhone 16 Pro models, which is sourced from Samsung. The panel has a 30% increase in brightness and improved longevity compared to the prior generation iPhone 16 display. The entire iPhone 17 lineup could get 120 Hz ProMotion display technology, which means it will no longer be a feature limited to the Pro lineup. ProMotion displays will be enabled by the low-temperature polycrystalline oxide, LTPO, panels that Apple plans to use for all of the iPhone 17 models. LTPO allows for 1 Hz to 120 Hz refresh rates and adds always-on display support. While multiple rumors have suggested ProMotion display capabilities will expand to the entire iPhone 17 lineup, a Chinese leaker believes that's partially inaccurate. The leaker says that the iPhone 17 and iPhone 17 Air will get 120 Hz displays, but that the displays will not support adaptive refresh rates down to 1 Hz. A 120 Hz panel would allow for smoother scrolling, animations, and UI transitions, but it would not allow for always-on display functionality. There were rumors that some iPhone 17 models were going to be updated with a scratch-resistant anti-reflective display coating, but it sounds like that might not happen this year after all. Apple ran into issues scaling up its display coating process, and it was too slow when taking into account millions of devices, so the coating plan was scrapped. Hints of the iPhone 17 Air were found in the iOS 26 beta. There is a wallpaper for a display that has a 1260 by 2736 resolution, but that doesn't correspond to any existing iPhone models. It is, however, a resolution that would work for a 6.6-inch display. Naming. We don't know what Apple is going to call its ultra-thin iPhone. Rumors have referred to it as the iPhone 17 Slim or the iPhone 17 Air, but neither name is official. Given that Apple has an iPad Air and an iPad Pro and a MacBook Air and a MacBook Pro, the iPhone Air naming might make the most sense to Apple customers. A-series chip. Apple is working on A19 and A19 Pro chips for the iPhone 17 lineup, and the iPhone 17 Air will get the A19 chip. Rumors suggest that all iPhone 17 models will have a vapor chamber heatsink to improve thermal performance. Vapor chambers work by spreading head evenly across a larger area, reducing thermal throttling and ensuring consistent performance. The iPhone 17 Air is expected to have 12 GB RAM, the same as the RAM in the iPhone 17 Pro. Current iPhone 16 models have 8 GB RAM, the minimum for Apple Intelligence. Camera. With limited internal space due to the slimmed-down design, the iPhone 17 Air will get just a single-lens rear camera. Rumors suggest it will use the same 48-megapixel wide camera that's in the iPhone 16 models. If the iPhone 17 Air only has a single-lens rear camera, it will not be capable of capturing spatial video or spatial photos unless Apple has a new technique in mind for capturing this kind of content. All iPhone models coming in 2025 are rumored to have an upgraded 24-megapixel front-facing camera, which is an improvement over the 12-megapixel front-facing camera in the iPhone 16 models. The camera will notably improve image quality and allow for more cropping in without a loss of quality. Connectivity. Apple-designed 5G modem chip. The iPhone 17 Air is expected to be one of the first iPhones that will use an Apple-designed 5G modem chip. Apple's modem will be capable of theoretical 5G download speeds of up to 4 gigabits per second, which is slower than Qualcomm modems in current iPhones. The chip also won't support the fastest mmWave 5G, and it will be limited to sub-6 GHz speeds. For other iPhone 17 models, Apple plans to continue to use Qualcomm chips. It's just the iPhone 17 Air that will get the Apple chip. SIM tray. Apple will remove the physical SIM slot in iPhones sold in more countries next year, though it is not yet clear which countries. US iPhone models haven't included a SIM tray since the iPhone 14, but Apple has continued using it in other countries. The iPhone 17 Air may be too thin to support a SIM tray. Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. All 4 iPhone 17 models that are coming in 2025 will have Apple's first custom-designed Wi-Fi chip with Wi-Fi 7 support. Wi-Fi 7 is already used in the iPhone 16 models, but Apple's chip design could bring additional efficiency and connectivity improvements, and it paves the way for a future all-in-one SoC. Apple is aiming to create a wireless setup where the components are tightly integrated and more energy efficient, which will let the company cut down on the battery use of cellular, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth technologies. Wi-Fi 7 supports data transmission over 2.4 GHz, 5 GHz, and 6 GHz bands simultaneously for faster speeds and lower latency with a supported router. Wi-Fi 7 supports peak speeds of more than 40 gigabits per second. Bluetooth 5.3 is also expected. Battery. With the iPhone Air featuring a chassis that's just 5.5 millimeters thick, there will be less room for the battery. Apple is optimizing battery life with the more efficient C1 modem, processor improvements, and a higher density battery that could use silicon anode battery technology, but there could still be a hit to battery life. According to the information, the iPhone 17 Air will have worse battery life compared to other iPhones. Apple's internal testing has apparently found that 60 to 70% of iPhone 17 Air users will be able to go a full day without charging, while that number is 80 to 90% for other iPhone models. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman has said that the iPhone 17 Air's battery life will be on par with current iPhones, but he did not elaborate. The iPhone 17 Air could have a 2,800 mAh battery, which would be similar to the battery that Apple used in the iPhone 12. Charging. Apple is planning to release an iPhone battery case alongside the iPhone 17 Air that will add extra battery capacity, but it will mean that iPhone 17 Air users who need more battery will have to compromise on thickness. The iPhone 17 models are expected to support up to 35W wired charging speeds, which means there would be no change from the current charging maximum. Apple's iPhone 17 models could support the next-generation Qi 2.2 wireless charging standard. Qi 2.2 allows for wireless charging at up to 50W. MagSafe cables that support Qi 2.2 have been spotted in regulatory filings, but that doesn't mean Apple will support the maximum 50W charging. Pricing. The iPhone 17 Air could be priced at $899, which is the current price for the iPhone 16 Plus. At $899, the iPhone 17 Air would be more expensive than the iPhone 17, but less expensive than the iPhone 17 Pro. The iPhone 17 models could see a price hike, as Apple's component costs are increasing due to tariffs. Apple will pair the potential price increase with new features and design changes to justify the price to consumers, rather than blaming tariffs. iPhone 17 Air launch date. The iPhone 17 Air will be introduced in September 2025 at Apple's annual fall iPhone-centric event. It will launch shortly after, and will be sold alongside the iPhone 17, iPhone 17 Pro, and iPhone 17 Pro Max. What's next for the iPhone Air? Apple is already planning for the next few iPhone Air models, and the company plans to introduce an iPhone 19 Air with a larger display in the second half of 2027. The iPhone 18 Air coming in 2026 will be the same size as the iPhone 17 Air coming in September. A future version of the iPhone Air could use an upgraded LTPO3 OLED display that uses far less battery power. Apple could introduce this technology by 2027, resulting in iPhones that have longer battery life.